Good morning, viewers. Welcome to this session on Introduction to Public Policy. Public policy as a subject, we have this in our undergraduate program as well as in postgraduate program. Besides that, it is also being referred on to, and we get the researches being done up in the area of public policy. In the new program which we have started now, that is the choice-based credit system at the undergraduate level, there are two courses on public policy which have been taken care of. Let us try to know about it, that what is public policy. Public policies are as old as governments. It means these have been in existence ever since. Irrespective of the form, whenever, wherever governments have existed, public policies have been formulated and implemented. The issue which comes to mind is, before we go further, that what is a public policy? As we know that it comprises two words, that is public and policy. Public is, which is for the general being of all. Everybody who is there, he or she is included or being covered, taken care of under this domain. Policies, as we all know, that a policy is a deliberate system of principles to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. A policy is also a statement of intent and is instrumented as a procedure or protocol. So for that particular matter, everything which is to be taken care of by the government, that is there in the form of a policy or the other. So far as its significance or relevance to the public is concerned, it can be said that public policy is so much over-encompassing that public policy does have influence upon the individuals right from the womb up to the tomb. That means right since the birth of the individual till the individual passes off or leaves this planet, one or the other policy is being affecting the individual, irrespective of the fact that which setting we are. Whichever form of the government it is, whether it is democracy, it is dictatorship, it is oligarchy, it is monarchy, it is aristocracy, irrespective of the type of the government, there have been policies which are being implemented, formulated and also implemented for the benefit and welfare of the people. There are a number of problems which are being encountered by the individuals because everything is supposedly to be taken care of by the government, by the agencies which are over there. So for that particular matter, what is guiding the government or what is making the government, what are the instruments which are available in the form of for taking up various actions, those are there available in the form of one particular policy or the other. Thus, to cope with the varied problems and demands of the people, the government has to formulate policies, and these policies are called the public policies. The issue comes up over there is that whenever we talk about the public policy, we find that there are few words which definitely need to be understood when we want to have a better understanding of the term policy. Like policy and a decision, are these the same? Or is there any difference between a policy and a decision? It is being said that a policy is a group of the ideas that are used to shape how it will operate, how the organization or how the system will operate. And a decision is the action that is made after considering various possibilities. In the likewise manner, for the purpose of understanding public policy or policy in a better manner, let us try to have a look at another word that is known as a goal. Goal is an objective and policy is the tool for achieving it. Goal is an objective and policy is the tool for achieving it. Likewise, there are plans. Now, plans and policies are integral part of any system or organization. Although both look pretty similar, there are yet certain differences between the two, or there are certain dissimilarities between the plan and the policy. Policy is a guideline which guides the course of action. A plan is a roadmap to achieve the goal. Policy is a guideline to achieve the objective. A plan is a planning to achieve the objective. Policy is a set of rules and regulations. Plan is a course of action initiated for future. Policies are high-level strategic governance. Plans are made within the boundary of the policies. So, from this angle, we look at it that there are policies which are being formulated for the purpose of achieving the goals or the objectives which have been fixed forth. Now, why the goals and objectives are being fixed forth? What are the targets of the government in any given point of environment, whether we say that it is a democracy or it is a dictatorial form of government or oligarchy or military junta and so on. The goals and objectives are to work on those lines which go ultimately towards the benefit of the human beings, towards the benefit of the population which is residing in that particular environment. Now, the moment we talk of environment, again we are encountered by another component, that is that, well, is it a system? Now, definitely it is operating in a given environment, and the environment is that of a political system. So, it leads on to understand what is the political system. Political system is a set of interaction which is abstracted from the totality of the social behavior. Now, there are varied kind of the things which are there in a political system, which is known as the input as well as the output. If we say that policy is a guideline or policy is a broad framework under which the things are to take place in a given system, then definitely if it is to be formulated and it is to be taken up as a process, then certainly there would be inputs as well as the outputs which are required to be taken into stock. Well, we will come on to it a little later. Let us try to know it, that when we say that there are various scholars which have attempted to define public policy, and each one is connoting a different kind of the meaning thereupon, ultimately making us reach up to a point whereby we could understand that what policy is. Robert Eystone, for that matter, says or terms public policy as the relationship of the government unit to its environment. It needs to be understood that the government is not existing in vacuum. It is in existence in a given environment. And when we talk of the environment, then there are the pluses and the minuses of the number of the factors which need to be taken up in an integrated manner. So, whichever type of the policy which is being made by the government, that has to be looked into the overall environment. Say, we talk of the democracy. If we talk of the democracy, then of course, where from the power comes from in the democracy, the power comes from the people. So, people have to be taken into stock for that particular matter. There are various organizational structures which do play a role over there so far as the making up of the policy or the implementation of that policy is concerned. So, again, that also have to be looked into. Let us try to understand it from that particular manner, that the environment also over here needs to be taken up in a broader sense. Say that a designer designs or engineers a particular commodity. What for? Or what for that good is being done up? That is done up for a particular client or for a particular consumer. So, the person who designs this, that person needs to take into consideration what are the requirements of that consumer and how best and in how cost effective manner that particular commodity can be made available to the consumer or to the customer who is going, for whom that particular commodity or the product is being designed. Now, supposing it is the manufacturing of a car. So, the person who designs it, the person who engineers the product will not only take care of the customer for whom he is making up, but also he has to take into consideration the regulators, he has to take into consideration the transporters, he has to take into consideration the cost which shall be made to be spent so far as the running of that particular machine is concerned. So, there comes forth that there are number of the factors which are being taken care of when we try to look into policy from the environmental perspective, because the things are the ones that they are dependent on each other. One particular component is dependent on the other component. So, well, when the policy is being made, these kind of the things are being laid much emphasis upon so that the things do not get disarrayed. In the similar manner, Thomas R. Dye was a scholar who is in his book Understanding Public Policy says that public policy is whatever government chooses to do or not to do. Now, this particular definition appears to be very simple. सरकार क्या करना चाहती है, क्या नहीं करना चाहती, वो लोक नीति है. अब समझना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाता है कि क्या करना चाहती है, क्या नहीं करना चाहती. करना चाहती है तो समझ आता है कि जो एक कोई पॉजिटिव चीज होगी उसको करेंगे. सिमिलरली कुछ एक ऐसे एक्शन होते हैं जो कि लेने पड़ते हैं, कुछ ऐसे निर्णय होते हैं, कुछ ऐसी स्ट्रेटजीज होती हैं जो लेनी पड़ती हैं कि जिसके ऊपर हमें आगे बढ़ना पड़ता है कि उनको ना लिया जाए, बिकॉज इट विल प्रूव टू बी detrimental or it will prove to be counterproductive so far as the functioning of the system is concerned. So, Dye has said it that public policy all force and emphasis that, well, howsoever good the policy may be, so far as its making is concerned, unless and until that policy is being implemented in a proper manner, the worth of that particular policy would not be achieved to the extent it is required to be achieved. So there also has to be seen by the formulators that whether the implementers shall be able to execute the policy which is being made in that spirit to which it has been coined or it has been reminted. Richard Rowe says that public policy is not a decision. Then what it is? It is a course or pattern of activity. Please try to go a bit deep into it. It is not a decision, it is a course or pattern of activity. It is not something that you have decided that, okay, you do it like that. No, it takes whole lot of the process or the course of action to determine what is required to be done. So what shall be looked into? It shall be looked into that what is the aim or motive of that for the formulation of that particular policy. Whom is it going to affect upon? Whether the people shall be cooperating so far as the execution of that policy is concerned, and number of other factors. We will come on to it a bit later. Carl J. Frederick has opined that public policy is a proposed course of action of a person, group or government within a given environment, providing opportunities and obstacles which the policy was proposed to utilize and overcome in an effort to reach a goal or realize an objective or purpose. Now, what is being referred on to over here? That is the opportunities as well as the obstacles. Within a given environment, providing opportunities and obstacles. So, the opportunities are to be utilized and the problems which are over there, those problems have to be met with so that we are able to get the fullest out of that particular policy. So from these particular angles we reach at that public policies are governmental decisions and are actually the result of the activities which the government undertakes in pursuance of certain goals and objectives. So it is clear that there are the policies which are having the goals and the objectives which are supposedly to be taken care of. Now goals and objectives, which are those will again be determined within a given operation of the frame of the thing and which would keep on again getting changed with the passage of the time. It can also be said that public policy formulation and implementation involves a well-planned pattern or course of activity. It requires a thoroughly close-knit relation and interaction between the important government agencies which the political executive, legislature, bureaucracy and judiciary. So far as the nature of public policy is concerned, it would become clearer when we say that public policies are goal-oriented. Otherwise, why should the government make a policy or formulate the policy? Now, the question prior to that is that why should policies be formulated? Policies are formulated for the purpose of achievement of the goal. What is the goal? Who fixes up the goal? The goal is being fixed by the people, those who are managing the system. Who is managing the system? Again, we find that it is the government which is managing the system. In a government, when we say that it is a democratic polity, then it is a democratically elected government which is to take care of and which is to fix up the goal. Do we find it that these kind of the goals, these are the ones which are fixed and they remain in existence for all times to come? No, it keeps on changing with the passage of the time. Means that, well, the adaptations are there. There are the modifications which come into being. There are the involvement of the number of factors so far as the fixing up of the goals and taking up of the objectives and trying to correlate it with each other depending upon the resources which are available for those to be taken into extent. So policy is the outcome of the government's collective action. Number of the structures, number of the agencies which are involved therein. See, let us say that it is a political executive which is involved. So, well, if it is a political executive, when we go back onto the essay which was written by Woodrow Wilson way back in the year 1887, the study of administration, whereby he says that the policy making is the task of the political executive and policy implementation is the task of the permanent executive. So, well, if that is the case, that is where we draw the basic understanding of the public administration, and we being the students of public administration, the staff and the line agencies, it again correlates onto that particular aspect. So when we say that it is the collective action, what our present Niti Aayog is doing, is it not having a role to play so far as the making up of the policy is concerned? What is being done up by the finance commissions? What is being done up by the PMO? What is being done up by the cabinet? All these components need to be looked into because they play a sizable role so far as the making up of the policy is concerned. Public policy is whatever government actually decides or chooses to do. That is where it becomes the more prominent or pertinent and issue to be taken care of, that why a government will choose something which will not serve the purpose of serving the interest of the public at large. That is an issue. Now, what can bother us about some of us over there is that, well, it depends upon the will of the people or those who are making it up. So it may not be in the similar manner, or it may not go along with the will of the other people or go along with the thinking of the other people, because the human being, it is a human being only, or a group of the human beings, those who are involved so far as the making up of the policies is concerned at the upper level. When we say that it is a political executive and we try to look into the role of the cabinet or the role of the PMO in that, certainly it is again the group of the individuals. It was Herman Feiner and Thomas R. Dye who said it in their book, The Irony of Democracy, Ziegler and Dye, who said it in The Irony of Democracy book, that policies are the outcomes which are being done up, or are the decisions which are being taken by the elites. So they say that it is the elite which has a major role to play so far as the policy making is concerned. So, well, okay, let it be the elite who is making a role, but the elite is also to make the role in the sense whereby it would serve the purpose. And we were talking about that some people may view it in a different manner in comparison to the people, those who are viewing it in a different manner. Now, it is when we talk of the elite, then elite is also to be taken up in two manners. It is the governing elite as well as the counter elite. See, 5-6 years ago, there used to be a different party which was in power so far as India is concerned. Now it was replaced and another party got into being. So the policy which was the party which was operating at that point of time, now that party, political party, has become the counter elite now, and the party which was the counter elite at that point of time, that party became the governing elite. So elite means that, well, it is a group of few, those who rule over innumerable. Good enough. We have taken it up. It goes as per our constitution that, well, there is the government which shall be elected in that particular manner. So from that end, if there is a difference of opinion that one party does not agree to what the party in power is doing, so could it be, so well, then there are the shadow cabinets also in number of the countries. We find it that, well, the opposition of a party in power is also a watchdog so far as making up of the system to perform the things in a proper manner is concerned. It should not be construed thereupon that, well, it is the will of the person which is being imposed. And why should also not the will of the person, those who are elected, to be enforced is because policy making process starts even prior to the general elections which are held and the government is elected. We have heard about and we know about, we are aware of it, that there are known as the election manifestos. What are the election manifestos? Election manifestos make it clear that if you vote for me, and my political party come to power, then definitely this will be the agenda which we shall be pursuing. And we find it that in a multi-party system that, well, there are left-wing parties, there are right-wing parties, there are center parties. That is a different issue. That in good number of the countries in the system, we find that the right party is more leftist than the left party, and the left party is more rightist than the right party. So not going further in details about it, is that, well, it definitely makes it clear that the lines are being put across even prior to the general election, which are held for when the parties go to the people, to the electorate, for giving them a chance to function. And when they come into power, so then definitely they start functioning in a manner which is required, whatever agenda they had before them. So they will try to pursue that particular agenda. Now, public policy, is it positive? Yes, public policy is positive in the sense that it depicts the concern of the governments and involves its actions to a particular problem on which the policy is made. It has the sanction of law and authority behind it. Negatively, it involves a decision by the government officials regarding not taking any action on a particular issue. It is again not the will of the people not to initiate action on something which is required by the public. We find even in the day-to-day functioning of the government, what is happening? When the Prime Minister stated in the present scenario, in order to understand about it, is about the functioning of the government, that there will be no movement, and there is going to be the lockdown. So, well, the lockdown was there, people accepted it, and again then started coming the pressure from the different quarters, that the people, those who are stuck up at a particular place, may it be from the labor force, may it be from the students, may it be the tourists and so on, so they need to go back to their places. So yesterday the MHA came out with a guideline that, okay, well, if you follow these kind of the conditions, then the people are permitted to move from one end to the other, and the various agencies of the government which are involved therein, they shall be cooperating with each other for people to reach onto it. So this means that there is always a scope for change. This proves that there is always a scope for so far as the change in the making, in the decision which is being made. It is not something that whatever जो मैंने बोल दिया वो होगा ही होगा और वो तब तक होता रहेगा जब तक मैं उसका चाहूँगा, नहीं. When there is a genuine pressure which is being made across and it is being felt that it is required to be done across, then the government definitely takes the decision in that particular manner. Characteristic of the public policy making is that, well, policy making is a complex process. It appears to be very simple, but it is not simple. Why it is not simple? Because there are a number of the issues. As we were talking earlier, and I gave the illustration of a car being designed. So, well, if it is a car only and its design has to consider that what would be the road conditions, what is the role of the regulator, what is the role of the transporter, what is the availability of the fuel, what would be the cost of that particular fuel, how much would it cost, and so on and so forth. If these are the things which are to be taken up, then in this particular manner also, when we talk of the policy being made, whether it is substantive or it is regulatory, it is distributive or it is redistributive, or it is ethical or it is capitalization, these are the different types of the policies. We find that it involves major number of the actors and the situational factors which need to be considered. Can we take a decision for which we do not have the money? Certainly, we will not be able to do it. If we don't have the resources, we will not be able to do it. If we take up a decision which is going to be counterproductive in the times to come, certainly it would not be aimed at that particular kind of the decision is to be taken. Then there are a number of the parties which are over there. So there has to be the demands and the counter demands, the allegations and the counter allegations, and so on and so forth, and on the top of it the public opinion which has to be over there to be taken stock of in the total process. So it is not something very simple as it appears to be. It is a complex process because there are a number of the stages which are involved therein. We will come on to it a bit later. We say that it is a dynamic process. Why do we say it is a dynamic process? Primarily it is a dynamic process because it deals with whom? It does not deal with vegetables. It deals with the human beings, and the human beings are the ones which have the thinking potential. And when a person is having the thinking potential, the person is able to make out what is good and what is bad. Again, it may come into the minds of some of us that, well, do we really have that kind of the comprehension that we can understand what is good and what is bad? No, certainly yes, every individual is able to make it. You see, the human psychology is the one, right, whereby we are able to justify each and every action of ours. I mean, this shirt, why I am wearing a checked shirt? Why is it yellow in color? I have some kind of explanation to offer onto it from my own side. And so that is why when the individuals are having the thinking potentials and they are able to make out that which way should we go, certainly it calls for that there should be a place in the policy making process whereby it can adapt changes which are coming forth. Otherwise, it would become counterproductive so far as the functioning of the system is concerned. And as long as individuals are there, at times we feel helpless, you see, and there are situations which may come up that we find that we are not having any answer to it or solution to that particular problem which we are encountered with. For that matter, the present day circumstances which are going on, that, well, we are facing this COVID-19 and we find that every day the casualty number is increasing, every day the person getting affected by it is increasing, and so on. So are we helpless? No, should we not feel helpless at all, but rather should try to adapt to the situation over there and try to come across that, well, how best we can come out of this particular given scenario or this particular given situation. It is not that gloom. See, Every dark cloud has a silver lining. वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, certainly वो सुबह भी आएगी जब इस कोविड की भी कोई ना कोई दवाई ढूंढ ली जाएगी, कोई ना कोई वैक्सीन ढूंढ ली जाएगी. So from that angle, may it be that it will turn out to be something good for the systems which are there and something good for the people. For the time being, we might feel little bad about that total situation and the scenario, but no, certainly there will be aspects, so one should not lose hope onto that. So from that angle, it is a dynamic process. It comprises various components. Let us talk of India as a republic. 7th schedule of the Constitution of India says that, well, there will be a union list, there will be a state list, there will be a concurrent list. It means that we have the subjects which are being divided. Again, when we look at the structure, we find that, well, we have Government of India, that is the union government, we have the state governments, whether we talk of the state of Uttar Pradesh, state of Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, etc., etc. And then we have the local governments over there. Dale has write in his book Intergovernmental Authority and the role of the intergovernmental organizations in policy making has talked about 3 models. He says it is the first model he talks about, that is the inclusive authority model. Inclusive authority model is where there is the union government which is having the control over the state government and the state government is having the control over the union government. So all the 3 are operating within that particular thing and they have their different jurisdictions, but there is state government is controlled by the union government and local government is controlled by the state government. The second he says of it, that is the coordinate authority model, whereby we talk of it that, well, all the 3 they are being given some kind of the authority and they are operating thereupon, where there is the one component of the union government and the other component is the state government and the state government having the control over the local government. The third model he has talked of it is intergovernmental relations, that Dale as right had says it, that it is the overlapping model, where the authority of the government of the state or the state government overlaps with the authority of the union government, and in the similar manner the union government authority overlaps over the authority of the state government and the local government. So these are the various components which are to be looked into for the purpose of performance of the thing. Now each authority is having some kind of the domain to operate upon and some kind of the subjects where they can work. But of course, in the need of the crisis, all the government units, they get together, as it is happening in the present day circumstances also, and all start working in a given manner, which is able to do the very first thing which we talked about, that, well, it is to be done up for the or in the overall interest of the public, that is the people at large. Now, policy structure makes different contributions. This characteristic suggests that every substructure makes a different and sometimes unique contribution to public policy. What sort of contribution substructures make depends in part on their formal and informal characteristics, which vary from society to society. So somewhere it would be little different by one particular substructure and in somewhere it is the another. Then decision making. Policy making is a species of decision making because it let us use decision making models for dealing with policy making. As students of public administration, we are aware of the name Herbert A. Simon. Herbert A. Simon, while talking about decision making, says that decision making process is again a very simplistic but equally cumbersome a process. He says that, well, there are 3 activities which we try to look into being. First thing is the intelligent activity. The intelligent activity talks of where we are able to determine what is the problem, what is the issue which is to be taken into stock. And then it is the design activity. Now, the design activity is that where number of the solutions to the problem which has been encountered or which we have been able to identify, number of those particular options are being developed, right? And then there is a choice activity. Choice activity talks about that the best out of that, those given alternatives, depending upon the situation in which you are. So that best will be selected. So the choice will be made of that particular best. Try to understand it in a little more better manner. We are to go from here, let us suppose from Delhi we are to go to Calcutta. Now when we are going from Delhi to Calcutta, there are various modes where we can go it from here. We can go by road, we can go by train, we can fly. If we fly, we will be able to reach there within 2 hours. If we go by train, some trains will carry us to Calcutta in 17 hours, some train will take 30 hours and so on. And if we go by road, it may take 35 hours or 36 hours. So then, well, of course, which is the best? The best is to travel by air. But the question is that if you travel by air, then you have to spend huge amount of money in comparison to what you are spending when you go by Rajdhani, which will take you in 17 hours, or you go by the Kalka Mail, which will take you over there in 30 hours, or if you go by road, which will take you 36 or 40 hours. That will again depend upon that what is the urgency for you to reach over there. If it is very urgent, then of course, and if you don't have even the money, you will make the arrangement from one source or the other, and you will try to make it possible that you are able to reach Calcutta in the least possible time which is available with you. So that is where it is said that the time and efforts which need to go for designing, for identifying the problem, for designing various alternatives which are to be taken into stock for coming out of that particular problem or meeting the challenge which we have before us, or achieving the targets or the goals which we have fixed for, and then the best out of that is to be taken up. But again, mind you, the best may not be the best otherwise the best, but the best is to be looked upon the best under the given circumstances and the resources which you have at your command. So that is what is to be looked into. Then policy lays down major guidelines. Are guidelines required or not? Yes, guidelines are very much required. Why guidelines are required? Guidelines are required for the public good to be delivered in a manner whereby it serves the good of all concerned or to the maximum number of the people. Any given decision, any policy at any point of time may not be able to satisfy each and every person. And well, it again depends upon the perceptions, it again depends upon the individual situation and the individual factors over there. So well, these have to be looked into, but certainly what is required is that the guidelines are a must. Guidelines are a must because individuals did not surrender their sovereignty to the sovereignty of the state for the heck of it. It was an intentional decision being made to surrender our sovereignty to the sovereignty of the state because we wanted the state to protect our life and property. So well, that is where when we find that the policies have the legal sanction, so those legal sanctions are looked into in the form of the major guidelines which are being proposed, and people are supposed to adhere to those guidelines. And at times we find that the rules and the regulations or the guidelines or the plans or the programs which are being there in the manner which is being covered under the public policy as it is, they are not being adhered to. So well, if it is not being adhered to, then of course the action is being taken up by the government agencies against the people, those who are defying it. And number of the illustrations are there. Even in the present day circumstances, we find the example to that. Another thing is that it results in action. So, is public policy action oriented? Yes, it is action oriented. Which action? The action which you had thought of under the objectives and the goals which you had fixed for the achievement of the policy or for the making up of that particular policy, wherein you put up a number of the resources for moving ahead about it. Then it is directed at future. So, it is futuristic. It will make the things clear for us. How will we do it? What will we do it? Under which circumstances? What will be the role by the various agencies which are there for the implementation of it? That it gets covered onto it. Mainly formulated by government organs. And the moment we say that mainly formulated by government organs, does it leave a scope to think about that there are the non-governmental actors which are also involved over there? Yes, there is the role which is being played by the non-governmental actors. What about the people? What about the public opinion? Does it not matter? Does it not make contribution so far as the making up of the public policy is concerned? When we talked about David A. Easton, the black box model or the system approach to public policy or the system model of policy analysis, wherein we have talked about the input and the output. Now the input, when we take into stock, it refers on to the four inputs, that is political socialization and recruitment, interest articulation, interest aggregation and political communication. Now this political socialization and recruitment, whereby it means that socialization, where from do we get socialized? The first agent for socialization of an individual is that of the family, followed by school, followed by universities, followed colleges, universities, peer group, religious organizations, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, and so on and so forth. So we keep on learning thereupon, and we keep on building our thinking in that particular given manner. And the recruitment speaks up over there is that where but gone are the days when there used to be the divine force, or the people was those who were the ruler was considered to be in the heritage of the god and so on. Now, well, under the given circumstances, it is the elected people, those who get into being and the recruitment also connotes that earlier it was the elite which was doing it, but now we find it that the common people, those who were common at a given point of time, have become so much popular that, well, not only within the country but globally these people are acclaimed. So, well, that is where is the recruitment which has come across so far as these examples and illustrations are concerned. So, it is formulated by various government organs, and these inputs which are there: political socialization and recruitment, interest articulation, interest aggregation, political communication. This takes the form of demand and supplies. Right, and then it gets into the output is there in the manner of the output and the outcome. Whatever is left over, that is again put back in the feedback loop for the purpose of improvements to be ushered in over there. Now, again, it comes, we talk of it that it is results in action are directed at future are mainly formulated by the government organ. There is an output and there is an outcome. Now, well, output after spending 2 years, the output may be that, well, you are able to have your master degree. After spending 3 years, the output would be that, well, you will get a undergraduate degree. But, well, the outcome would be in the form of the job, in the form of entrepreneurship, in the form of your development of the knowledge base, the wisdom which you will become more wise, you will become more knowledgeable. That is going to be the outcome of it. So, again, the other point is that it aims at achieving what is in the public interest. So, broadly again, referring on to the point where from we did start, that it is the public, it is the people at large. So, well, they are to be looked into for the purpose of making the policy. Now, if we try to go a little away from it, one thing is people, so it does mean that everybody, no, may not be everybody. Within that particular we say that some policy which is trying to look into the welfare or development of the women or for the women empowerment or women development. So, obviously, it would not be the male force or the man force which will be getting the beneficiary status of that, but it will be the women. So, well, the women again, that does not make it that it will be the particular women of a particular given state or a region or a zone, but then it will be all across. So, then that is what it connotes from the aims at achieving what is in the public interest. Then use of best possible means. In abstract technology, public policy making aims at achieving the maximum net benefit. Involvement of various bodies and agencies are over there. Now, when we say net benefit, what is net benefit? What is net value achievement? Net benefit or net value achievement is that it is said that for achieving a particular thing, you might have to sacrifice B. I repeat, for achieving A, you might have to sacrifice B. But whatever you achieved in A must compensate whatever you have sacrificed in B. Meaning thereupon that if we want to achieve something, we may have to sacrifice another thing. But whatever is sacrificed must be compensated in whatever we have achieved. That is the net benefit which shall accrue thereupon. It means that some sacrifices, something has been lost across in the total process, but whatever has been lost, it is being compensated in whatever has been achieved. So, that is what it talks about the net achievement. Now, when we are talking of the policy is futuristic, it is directed, it is goal oriented, it is results in action and so on, and we talk of the multi-party system. Let us suppose we talk about that, well, there is Bharatiya Janata Party, there is Congress Party, there is left, there is BSP, there is VHP, number of other political parties over there. May it be that everybody is people are involved so far as the arriving at particular policy is concerned amongst various things are take into consideration. If we say that political executive has a major role to play in policy formulation, let us say that it is a party in power. Now, within the party in power also there are the various constituents. Somebody may be coming from the agriculture lobby, somebody may be looking after the interest of the tribal, somebody may be looking after the interest of the educationists, somebody may be looking after the interest of the industries and the industrial workers and so on. And everybody might be keen enough that, well, the government should make a policy because it will serve the interest of my constituents, my support base and so on, but then size of the cake is limited. So, under that given size of the cake, what happens? Laswell says that the first technique which is there is that it is bargaining. That the lobby from the industrial segment will be bargaining with the people from the agriculture segment, or will be bargaining with somebody else that, well, okay, this year, depending upon the resources which we have available with us, let us make policy on this, and the coming year we will take policy on that. That is the bargaining. And then again it is a competition, because the human mind again is there. Everybody wishes that, well, I should get it. We are all I-concentric. Right? I-centric. I don't mean to say over here that I means that iPad or iPhone or iPod or something like that, but it is the I, it is the ego, it is the individual. So individual, group of the individuals which are over there, which we are talking of, that we are competing with each other. Why are we competing with each other? We are competing with each other for broadening my base, my electoral base. So there is a competition. Then at times we find it that since it is the same party, there is a cooperation which finally being referred on to or being adhered to. So people or the groups tend to cooperate with each other for arriving at that what particular policy issue is to be taken up, for the policy proposal is to be made thereupon, so that it is being put on the policy agenda. And then at times, well, there is a conflict also. So it is bargaining, it is competition, it is cooperation, it is conflict. And when all the four of these do not result into anything, then what happens? Then there is a command which is being issued that, oh, come on, let us do it in this particular manner. Otherwise, you will be made to do whatever. So that doesn't need to be referred to. Which are the major actors which are in policy formulation? It is the political executive, where there is a cabinet, where there is a PMO. PMO has a more role to play. Cabinet is supposedly to take stock of everything, and nothing can move unless and until it is the cabinet which decides about that. And of course, under the given circumstances, we find that unless and until it is the Prime Minister, who is the chair of the cabinet also, it has the approval of the Prime Minister, the proposal cannot move forward. Then of course, the legislature. As students of public administration, political science, we are aware of it, that how does a bill become an act? That there is the first stage, there is second stage, there is committee stage, there is third stage, and it goes to the other house, and it is passed by the other house, and then it is being put across before the chief executive, that is the President of India, and after his assent or her assent, the policy becomes, the proposal becomes a legislature. There is a role which is being played by the judiciary, and over the period of time we find that the role of judiciary has rather been stated to be proactive so far as number of the decisions pertaining to policies formulation are concerned. Interest groups play a role again. The difference, of course, you know it, that the difference between interest group and a political party is that the political parties vie and compete with each other for the purpose of coming to power. The interest groups do not compete or do not go in for coming to power. Their interest is only that whatever they are imbibed into, or whatever they are claiming for, that particular thing should be achieved. Political parties, definitely yes, they are the major actors so far as the policy formulation is concerned. Mass media, both electronic as well as the print, plays a major role so far as the identification of policy issues is concerned, in the manner in which we look across that, well, in policy implementation, again they have a major role, and there is a close relationship between policy formulation and implementation, as it is being said that the policy would not be able to achieve its intent unless and until the policy is implemented in a proper manner. In the similar manner, whatever are the drawbacks which do surface upon, those drawbacks are to be considered, and for the purpose of improving the policy whichever has been made, or in the new policy which is being looked into. This also gets along with the incremental model so far as the policy analysis is concerned. Then the social movement, they have their own role, and a major role rather to play so far as the making up of the policy is concerned. And yes, of course, international agencies. And well, less said the better. That it is positive as well as the negative role which is being played under the given circumstances by the international agencies and the organizations, but that is again to be considered, to be taken stock of so far as the policy is concerned. It is all we have talked about the policy making so far as the political executive is concerned, but then there is a permanent executive also which is playing a sizable and important role so far as the public policy making is concerned, and it can be looked into under three heads, that is informative, suggestive and analytical, that is IAS, or informative, analytical and suggestive. So from that end, n number of the actors, and of course the public which plays a role through the public opinion so far as the making up of the public policy is concerned. So this is how we can look at or try to or make an attempt to understand public policy or to introduce public policy formulation to to you. Thank you very much. ठीक है सर.